So my name is Miguel Martinez Bustos. I am a lower bass, and I joined the chorus probably 2 years ago, in I think 2018.
How did you find out about the chorus?
Well, I've always known about the chorus, and actually, my cousin had gifted me one of the CDs, uh, probably about almost 20 years ago, the chorus, and really fell in love with not only the music that the chorus sung, but the story behind the chorus was wonderful.
I think it's perfect. When I was auditioning, Tim's advice to all of us auditioning was pick something that means something to you and sing it with heart. So I think that's perfect. What was the first season like after your auditions?
Wow. I mean, the first season was like the second, and I'm sure it's going to be like the years to come. There really is a sense of family and a sense of community of we're all working towards this effort together. We all have different parts, but when we all come together, it's magic. And I remember the first concert that I did was at St. Ignatius Church. Um, and it was, I grew up Catholic. And so to be an openly gay person and to be welcomed into that space, a space that was so familiar, but a space that also I felt in my life I had to separate. So to be there, and just the whole story about us being invited back, and even the music we sang was just so powerful. And then everything was gravy after that. I mean, our other concerts that we did, and even the Christmas Eve concerts were phenomenal, bringing joy to people through song. Um, is really a powerful thing. I'm so glad to be a part of it.
I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you got to sing at St. Ignatius for the historical aspect of it, and the acoustics in there are just amazing too. Tell me more about how you grew up.
So I'm actually a native San Franciscan. I grew up here in the Mission District. I live in the home that my grandfather bought in the 1940s.
Wow.
Um, I'm still in my community in the Mission District, um, and for me, I it's interesting because my partner is also from the Mission District. He and I actually went to Archbishop Brewer High School together, and so he grew up in 18th Dolores Street. So he went to Mission Dolores, and I went to St. Peter's Elementary School. They thought they were cool because they were the Basilica, but St. Peter's on 24th in Alabama was the real place because we were organizing. It was awesome. But anyway, so we met in high school, and both of us had to leave San Francisco to come out. Most people come to San Francisco. I had to leave, and I remember when I think I was either a junior or senior in high school. I used to belong to the Young People's Musical Theater of San Francisco up at the Randall Museum right off Castro. And I remember walking down the hill, and I used to take the bus, the 24, to visit Errol to 24th Street and then walk down all the way to my house on Harrison. But I remember waiting on the corner where now Soul Cycle is. It was a bank before. And I remember there was a community billboard that they had, and there were, signs about garage sales. There were signs about insurance, all these, whatever you find in a community billboard. And I remember there was a piece of paper that had something like hypnosis will help you change your eating habits, and it had listed a bunch of stuff. And one of them is will make you not gay anymore. And I remember, it was one of those sheets, and then they have the little strips that they cut.
Yeah.
And I remember taking one, thinking, "Oh my God, maybe this could help." because when you grow up in San Francisco, everyone's here, your family, your friends in elementary and high school. So I couldn't go out. Like most people come here to be liberated. I had to leave. And so when I went off to college, I decided to go to a graduate school program in Washington, D.C., because I said, what's the furthest place I can get to? And so I moved to Washington, D.C., went to American University, and it's there where I really came out. That was crazy. But it was a beautiful experience.
Tell me about that story.
Wow. So, growing up in the mission, we were very Catholic, very Mexican household. And so, no one in my family had ever come out. I had heard rumors of a cousin that I had who was on my mom's side named Tony. And I remember people used to say, oh, Tony's like that. But I never met Tony. But I knew they were referring to him being gay. And I remember thinking, God, I want to meet this Tony. And it was years later, actually after I came out and when I was working at the White House for President Clinton, Tony got a hold of me. And actually it was Tony who sent me the CD of the San Francisco Gay Men's School. But coming out was a very difficult thing for my family. My mom, who was very religious, or more spiritual than religious, just started crying. My sister, who I had told, my sister ended up telling my mom and didn't tell me until I almost was going to come home. I was soon to come home for vacation. And I said to my sister Rose, I said, so what did Mom say? And she said, oh, she cried and she lit a candle to St. Jude, who's the patron saint of impossible cases. So I came home that vacation and I confronted my mom about it. It was not good. She cried. She said, I don't believe in it, and, did all of her things. And then the next day, my brother, who I told, kicked me out of his house. And so that night I spent the night at a friend of mine in her apartment. And my mom called me. And the next morning she said, where are you? And I said, oh, I'm at my friend Tara's house. My mom said, you better get over here now. So, I drove to the house. And my mom, granted, remember, 48 hours before, she was crying upset. But because my brother kicked me out, her motherly instincts kicked in, and she's like, oh, hell no. You're my baby. No one's going to, and so, it was like, all of a sudden it became okay. But the only thing she asked was, she said, don't tell your dad. He said, because your dad is going to blame me. For some reason, it's the mother's fault when something goes wrong, right? And so she said, don't tell your dad because you're going to go back to Washington and I have to be here. So my brothers, everybody made a pact not to tell my dad. So we didn't. And, from that moment on, my mom came to visit me several times in Washington, met my partner, different partner at the time, when I was living in D.C., and she was my date for the Christmas ball at the White House. And she saw that my life was okay. And then when she passed away, it was then I had moved back home to Washington, and it was just me and my dad in the house. And my brothers, because I inherited my mom and dad's house, they were kind of trying to get my dad mad at me. And so one day I came home, and my dad in Spanish says to me, so your brothers were here? And I said, oh, really? I said, good. And he said, so they said that you were gay. And I said, oh, right. I'm like, oh, shoot, right? And he said, now this is all in Spanish. He said, you know, I told him that you're my son and I love you and you've always made me proud and that it's not an issue. And it was so beautiful because my dad was very macho. He was we couldn't clean up in the house. Women did that role. We could, even when I wanted to clean up, I had to sneak like the ironing board into my room because he didn't want to see that. And he just completely turned around and, you know, he was so beautiful at the end of his life and our relationship. He just said, you make me proud. And that was enough. So that was enough. So coming out, I felt that, you know what, especially if my mom was behind me, the hell with everybody else. You know, when you have your mom with you, don't worry about anybody else. And the fact that my dad came along and changed his view completely, to this day, they're still with me. Their strength that I feel from them still allows me to be who I am in a very complete and whole way. And so that's my coming out story.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's beautiful. Thinking about that story and your time now in the chorus over the past 2 years, what's been the most rewarding part about singing in chorus?
Well, obviously the singing is awesome. It's fun. It's especially when you have all our voices together. But I think one of the most rewarding thing is that when I look across the span of 300 of us, we're all very different. You know, we come in different shapes, sizes, colors. You know, we're white, we're black, we're trans. You know, I love that. You know, I love the fact that we're so different, but also that we take care of one another. And when one chorus member is down or sick, that everybody rallies behind them. And, you know, as you know, Andy, we've lost a few of our chorus members, even in the short time that I've been here in the chorus. But to have a family that rallies behind one another, that's really what community and familia is really all about. And it's a beautiful thing. And I love the fact that despite what maybe some members of our global world says about us, we're all a beautiful family. And I mean, it's an incredible thing that we have. I miss being around our chorus brothers. I miss that tremendously. But seeing them on Zoom when we've been coming together has been really wonderful, and I can't wait to when we can come together into that hall at 170 Valencia and imagine how sweet those hugs are going to be. It's going to be something to look forward to, but I'm glad we have what we have.
I'm glad we do too. If there is some young person watching this who maybe shares some of their background with you, what would you tell them?
Oh, God. The life is good and precious. And just be who you are, your authentic self. This is the one life we're going to have, right? And so be your authentic self. And it could be scary. It could be whether you're coming out as gay or you're trans or you feel you don't know how to sing, but you want to be part of the chorus, or you're an introvert and you don't know what it's like to be with a big group. Seize it and be who you are this time, because let me tell you, there will be people that will surround you. And if you have people that surround you for who you are, that's worth more than gold. And they're out there. So don't let anybody discourage you from being your authentic self. And don't let anybody discourage you on enjoying the life that you deserve to live. And you'll see that there will people who will rally behind you. And there were times in my life where it was very, very hard and very difficult, and I didn't know if I was going to make it alive. But the support came in spaces and from people that I least expected it, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful surprise. So just know that.
I love that. Is there anything else that you would like to share about your chorus experience or your story before we go?
God, I wish everyone could be a member of our chorus. You know, I look forward to the fact that you have a group of strangers, or that once were strangers, coming together and creating magic. That happens, and I know it could happen even outside of a chorus. But the fact that we can do that, you know, when we were in Tribeca for the screening of the film Deep Forest East, Course Deep South, it was really, really cool to be able to travel across the country, and to see our chorus members on the street, because we were in New York City. So before the actual event, we were running into each other. That was cool, because it's like, even in a big city like New York with millions of people, the fact that you can spot a chorus member there that and you're here together, that was pretty wild, and pretty incredible. And I think another thing, that the fact that the chorus is a place, where many of our chorus members, chorus brothers, especially some of our older members, that this is a space for them to really let loose and really have a great time. And I love that. I love seeing that. And I love when we get there and we're hugging. And I love when we're singing. I love when Tim cracks a joke. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not, right? I know he's going to watch this, but anyway, Tim, you're awesome. But I just love the fact that we can laugh together, we could cry together, we can make music together, and we can love together, and that we make magic happen together. And I think that's what's such an incredible thing about the chorus. And that's just us. Now, when we do the performance, and how the audience reacts to us, I mean, it's like for months at a time, it's just us singing this music. And then we have a performance where thousands of others come, and we're able to hold them. We're able to hold their emotions almost like in the palm of our hands. Whether when we sing and they laugh at either the song, the lyric, or the dancers. But then there are times we make them think and reflect on life, on what it means to love, on what it means to be together, and on what it means to be human. And that's wild. It's a wild, wild thing that we're able to do through music and song.